In Mexico, there is approximately one kidnapping every 60 minutes, forcing wealthy families to get themselves and their families bodyguards, which is a necessary service in order to activate kidnapping insurance. We meet John Creasy, a former CIA assassin who is struggling with alcoholism and feelings of guilt over his actions in the CIA. He arrives in Mexico to visit his old CIA colleague Rayburn, who has made quite a living for himself in Mexico, having a successful security company. Rayburn states how it is good to see his friend again and wonders if John is planning to stick around, but John is a drifter by heart, not having the peace of mind to settle down in one spot. We then see Samuel Ramos, a Mexico City automaker, meeting with his lawyer John Calfas, a close friend of his late father. Samuel was forced to fire his old bodyguard, which is a necessity to having kidnapping insurance and needs to find one soon before his policy expires. Jordan advises him to get himself a cheap bodyguard so that the policy takes effect, then he can fire him after. Rayburn gets the connection and breaks the news to John, saying that he'd be a great fit for the role. John is worried about his drinking and his lack of communication skills, but Rayburn tells him that even at half speed he is still very good. Ray tells John about Samuel, thinking the guy may be in a little trouble, and insists that John take the job. John cleans up and meets with Samuel, who is impressed by his resume. John tells him straight up that he drinks, and that if top professionals try to kidnap his daughter then he'll do the best he can. If they are low-level thugs, he'll probably kill them. Samuel likes his attitude but urges him to keep his drinking a secret from his wife. They get back to Samuel's villa where John meets his wife Lisa, an American expatriate from Texas, and they are both pleased to meet another American. Lisa offers John a drink which he accepts. She learns that he has no family and introduces him to her daughter Peta, telling her to show John to his room. Samuel is impressed that his wife readily accepted John, but she is comfortable that she is dealing with an American. That night, John sits alone tormented, drinking and messing with his gun. The next morning John plans his route before taking Peta to school. She begins to ask him a lot of questions which irritates John a bit, but he tolerates it and gets her to school safely and signs her in. He picks her up from school on schedule and on his way back she begins to riddle him with questions once more, but John has had enough and orders her to stop with the questions. This makes Peta upset and she moves to the back of the car feeling sad. John gets home where Lisa comes by to check on him. She tells him that Peta just wants to be friends with him, but John reminds her that he is her bodyguard and not her friend, so Lisa backs down and leaves. That night, John drinks until he is wasted and tries to end his life but the gun does not fire. He calls Rayburn asking him if there is any reason a good 9mm would not go off, but Ray knows what is up and tells him that a bullet never lies. Taking this as a sign, John decides to commit to the job of being a bodyguard. He is driving both Peta and Lisa the next day when he notices a car following them. He takes down the plate numbers, but Peta is brilliant and realizes what is happening and also makes her notes. It turns out to be nothing, so John gets Peta to school. Later that day, John is with Peta as she has swimming classes. He observes her get ready for her swim where she falls behind and does not manage to place. John tells her she is a strong swimmer and she admits that she never wins, so he tells her that once she gets out the blocks faster, she will beat the competition and they have their first bonding moment. The next day, Lisa and Samuel leave for America and after school John decides to help Peta with her swimming. He helps her get over her fear of the gunshot, telling her that it holds no fear. He then helps her with her homework and she tells a joke and is happy to see him crack his first smile. With her swim meet just around the corner, John again takes the time to drill her on her swimming techniques. Samuel and Lisa eventually return bringing a dog as a present for Peta. The next day, Peta showcases her swimming to the cheers of Bruno and Maria and manages to get a good time. At the track meet, all that training pays off as Peta places first, and the two share a hug in celebration. Samuel and Lisa are away on business, so John takes Peta with him to lunch with Rayburn, where she hands him a pendant she bought with her own money as a thank you gift for him, and I think I see a tear. That night, John sits alone. He opens a bottle but chooses to take up his Bible instead. The next day, John takes Peta to her piano lessons and waits with the dog outside when he notices police cars blocking both ends of the street. He then sees the car that followed them a few days before, then realizes that Peta is about to be kidnapped. John tells Peta to run, ends up getting shot and manages to kill 4 of the kidnappers, but ends up taking a few rounds to the chest. Peta, who could not leave him, rushes to him in tears and soon she is grabbed and taken, leaving John bleeding out. He manages to survive, but is accused by Mexican police of killing 2 police officers and suspected of the kidnapping of Peta. One reporter notes that the 2 cops were supposed to be off duty, but the chief ignores her question saying they died bravely. Soon there is a massive manhunt for Peta. Samuel is at home with Jordan. They're reassuring him that they will get Peta back. An officer from the anti-kidnapping division, Victor Fuentes, arrives to help out with negotiations, and though Jordan insists that they will handle it themselves, he shows them an order from the Attorney General due to the two cops being involved. John is visited by Rayburn and an AFI agent Miguel, who moves John to a veterinary clinic to protect him from corrupt cops. Samuel soon gets a call from the leader of the kidnapping ring calling himself the Voice, demanding $10 million, which Samuel somehow already has ready, and is warned that he will never see PETA again if he plays around. Soon the money is prepared and the Voice gives them instructions on where to drop off the cash. Samuel drops the cash in the back of a car, but the kidnappers are ambushed at the drop by unknown men and the Voice's nephew is killed. Holding the Ramos family responsible, the Voice informs them that PETA will be lost to them forever as retribution. Lisa tries to plead with the Voice, but he tells her it is too late, so she chases all the cops out of her house. Once John recovers, Rayburn breaks the shocking news to John that PETA was killed after the drop went wrong, and this enrages him. Cops come by to visit him and show him pictures of possible suspects and John recognizes one man but does not say it. It is revealed that the kidnappers belong to a powerful gang called the Brotherhood that consists of corrupt officials, police, and criminals. Rayburn and John are on the road and he is planning to take John back to America, but he insists on staying and going by the crime scene. While there, he is visited by a reporter named Mariana, telling him more about the Brotherhood and offering to help him. John then goes by the house to get his stuff, then makes a stop in PETA's bedroom. Lisa then comes by in tears, saying she is not sure what she is going to do now. She asks John what he plans to do, so he tells her that he plans to kill every single person involved, and Lisa tells him to go ahead, handing him PETA's bear and giving him a kiss. With Rayburn's help, John gets himself an arsenal of weapons preparing to wage war. John has Mariana give him the details of the driver of the car he saw following him in ambush as the man. John ties his hands to his steering wheel, promising him pain if he doesn't answer his questions. This guy has no idea who he is dealing with, so John begins to brutally interrogate him. After he is down to about 2 fingers and 1 ear, the cop reveals that they were given orders by an anonymous person to grab PETA, and directs John to a club where 3 other kidnappers calling themselves the Guardians hang out. John thanks him for the information and gives him a smoke, before putting a bullet in his head and watching his car run over a cliff. John gets to the club and holds the bouncer at gunpoint, forcing him to take him to a back room. He bursts his way inside where he finds the 3 guardians, 2 men and a woman. They initially refuse to talk, until John kills one man. The other begins to tell John about the business, and hands over an ATM card that he collects his payments through. John then learns about the stolen ransom money, and discovers that Victor is also working with the Brotherhood. John kills the man and learns from the woman that she saw them hurt PETA and throw her into a car. The woman reveals that they have the girl and John gets hopeful, only to see that it is another kidnapped girl. He frees her before setting the entire back room on fire, then firing shots on the dance floor, driving the crowd out before the building explodes. He contacts Mariana, who turns up to the scene and gives her the ATM card, wanting to know who is loading the account. He learns that Victor was the one who drove Samuel to drop the money to the kidnappers. Even worse, he is the leader of the Brotherhood. Meanwhile, Rayburn is being interviewed by Miguel, who wants to know more about John. Rayburn simply describes John as an artist of death, about to paint his masterpiece. John gets to a point in the route where Victor's security detail travels, and gets access to an apartment overlooking the street. As the cars get into view, he uses a rocket-propelled grenade to blow up the first car. As the other cars try to escape, John comes down and unloads on the men, killing all the guards around Victor before kidnapping and taking him to the exact spot where the ransom was stolen. John strips him down to his boxer and ties him hands down on the hood of his car. John then explains to Victor that he has a small but powerful explosive stuck up his bum, with a 5-minute detonation time. John demands to know what happened with the ransom and Victor explains that he just saw a chance to get rich and took it. He further adds that the ransom money was only $5 million, as the other bag was filled with paper, and reveals that Jordan had something to do with it. The man thinks that he is getting free since he gave up the info, but John just leaves him there to blow up into a million pieces. John goes to Jordan's home and searches around where he finds his decapitated body, and a fax with bank account information leading to Samuel. With this, John goes back to Samuel's home and confronts him, warning both Samuel and Lisa to answer him or they're dead. Samuel then confesses that Jordan suggested they arrange PETA's kidnapping to claim the insurance payout to pay his father's debts, though they were promised PETA would be returned unharmed. When Victor interfered with the drop, Samuel blamed Jordan for PETA's death and killed him. Lisa, now aware of Samuel's involvement, angrily tells John to kill her husband or she'll do it herself. John then leaves Samuel his gun with the same bullet he tried taking his own life with, telling him that a bullet always tells the truth. Remorseful Samuel successfully shoots himself. Mariana and Miguel trace the ATM card to the Voice's wife and find her address, allowing Miguel's officers to infiltrate her home and obtain a photo of the Voice. Despite the Brotherhood's threats, Mariana publishes the photo and passes the address on to John. He gets to the address and barges his way onto the compound. He breaks into the house but is shot in the chest by the Voice's brother, who then tries to make an escape. John causes him to crash and he drags the man back into the house. There he learns the Voice's real name is Daniel and orders them to contact him. John gets the call from Daniel, who offers John money for his family, but John blows off his brother's fingers, telling him that he wants him instead. Daniel suddenly reveals that Peta is still alive and offers to trade her for his brother and for John, which he accepts. John calls Lisa, telling her that her daughter may still be alive and instructing her to meet him at an overpass where the exchange is to happen. Both John and Lisa get to the spot where he tells her to hold Daniel's brother at gunpoint until she gets Peta back. John, still wounded, staggers over to the exchange spot where men wait for him on the other side. John reunites with Peta in the middle of an overpass, assuring her that he loves her before sending her to her mother. Peta and Lisa tearfully reunite, happy to have each other back. John surrenders to the men and takes one last glance at Peta before the men take him away. Fortunately, before they can harm him, John passes away from the gunshot wound. Later, Miguel tracks down Daniel and shoots him dead during the course of arrest. Remember to turn on notifications, so you can watch more movie recaps like this. Thanks for watching.